Okay, welcome back to my live stream. Today we are working on the revamp of When the Night Comes by Lunaris Games. We have made it to chapter 8 so far, and there's 2 chapters after this, which I will be doing next week, because the second one, chapter 10, is more of an epilogue at this point. So here we go. So, we have been investigating a series of attacks on the it's a village of Lunaris, perpetrated by a monster. And the chapter before last, chapter 6, we finally killed it. In chapter 7, we were unconscious and had a chat with James and learned some unsettling things about where this monster came from and what it is exactly. Then we woke up and had some lovely, lovely times with Omen, whom we are romancing this time around. You'll find out during the DLC why I picked Omen, aside from the fact that he is adorable and he deserves some love. I mean, he gets some love regardless of who you romance, but the love from the players. Because everybody seems to like the others, but not Omen. So I was like, I get it why some people wouldn't romance Omen, but he's really cool. So here we go. It's the morning after. It's a magnificent effort to wake up come morning. Not entirely because the night before has been any kind of trial, mind, the opposite, in fact. But even with just my face peeking above the blankets and my eyes closed, I know it's cold. But in here, with an arm thrown over my shoulders and Omen's body heat pressing so close, it's warm. It's safe even. Strange that I can have this after everything. But as I slowly coax my mind back from grogginess, I know it to be true. Omen gently rolls over my leg so he can get to his feet. As he moves to do so, I notice something on his back. Well, something that spans across his back, taking up his entire shoulder blades. An imposing tattoo of a black ram skull with a half-moon of connected circles underscored by chains, marred savagely by scars that must have been swords and claws. Omen freezes and I blink, pulling myself together. I shouldn't stare, I know that much, because he quickly grabs his shirt and throws it on, looking away. I'm sorry, Omen, I didn't mean to. Curious about what? And suddenly Alcar is in the doorway, leaning on the frame with aggressive nonchalance, his red eyes narrowed to slip. Oh, it's nothing. I shoot Alcar a look, a little annoyed despite my best efforts. Alcar's face contorts for a moment, and I am almost ready to believe he's about to say something scathing. Protective, it's what I read from the tension in his shoulders and the sweep of his tail, sensibly so, even forceful and sincere as it is. But then the Omen laughs. The sound, quiet and fond, yanks all of us out of the brief deadlock. Alcar's face turns red. He looks away, muttering under his breath, and Omen lays a reassuring hand on my knee. It's all right. Thank you, Alcar, for checking in. Yeah. Sorry, I was actually here from the show. Oh, really? Is someone looking for me? Who isn't? You were out for 2 fucking days, Hunter. 3 now. Gave us a bloody scare, too. I mean that literally. When Omen came rushing back with you, Alcar stops short. His jaw clenches, and then he laughs, soft and wry, and leans back with arms crossed. Ezra just asked me to swing by and see if you're awake yet or not, and how you're feeling, that kind of stuff. I'm fine. If you could, please tell him thank you for my life, too. You're real. Not for Ezra, you wouldn't even be there. Alcar raises an eyebrow, though his eyes are glued to the floor, giving me an Omen of privacy, I see. I'd say you should go tell him that yourself, if you're feeling up for it. If you have time, I would like to talk to you. Omen gives me, then Alcar, a worried look. I shake my head and squeeze his hand. I doubt there's a problem. If anything, Alcar is right. I owe him an update on that monster we put down. The mere memory of it makes my stomach sink, but the dread is new. not the act of fear. Not anymore. That doesn't make it better. The sunlight's going in from my window. Suddenly feels cold. It's that strength from me, almost, to think about the road ahead now that I know what I do. You didn't get away from that thing unscathed, did you? There's something sympathetic to Alcar's face, harsh as the scars make it seem. He doesn't wait for an answer, either. Instead, he turns in the doorway, glancing his bolt over his shoulder. Glancing at his bolt over his shoulder. There we go. You want me to tell them all to gather at Ezra's? Is that the safest meeting spot? Yeah, it is. Oh, and Michelle, you owe me a beer for that fright. Oh, really? I haven't even sold the healer's bill with Ezra yet. He doesn't charge money for his friendship services, like helping people keep their blood and organs inside their bodies. I'm gonna just put the beer on your tab. I glance at Omen, not entirely sure if this audacious wolf bastard was joking or not, but my demon lover only smiles and shakes his head. After Alcar cleverly slams the door shut behind him before I can tell him not to do that. Press a hand against my side where the injury once was. The smooth skin under my fingers, the gash's agony, a mere memory, a trivial one, in the face of the dreams that followed, and, well, everything. There's a panic building in the pit of my stomach, one that says I am alone and on shaky ground, but before it spirals out of control, a warm hand laces with mine, and warm fingers grip my chin, turning my face sideways to meet Omen's gaze. His eyes are more cherry embers than brown this morning. His skin is hot. With the backdrop of sunlight behind him, he's enchanting. The intensity of his focus on me sent a shiver down my spine. To be here, now, treated to the singular of this demon. Are you charming me, Your Highness? Ah. He rests his forehead against mine, and his presence is a pressure, heavy but not suffocating. Our only points of contact are this and his fingers placed into mine, and yet everything is only him, only us. But that be enough, he doesn't say. He needn't say. From Omen, it's not a prayer or a reassurance, but a command, some confirmation of questions unspoken I haven't thought to voice. Is this love in the end, a contract of a kind? Of course we're going to kiss him. I press closer until my lips find his, and kissing him brings a sense of intoxication. Soft mattress cushions my back as Omen deepens it, eyelashes brushing my cheeks. The warmth of his body is supernatural, yet not uncomfortable, when he drapes it over mine, tipping me over. How long did we lose ourselves in that haze? I don't know. But eventually he pulls away, enough to talk, and try as I do to taste his mouth. Omen presses a finger to my lips with a chuckle. You love me? Something else. Reluctantly, I push myself onto my elbows and look at him. At the calm of his throat, his smooth skin, and the glow of his eyes. There's still more Omen conceals from my sight, my senses. I know it. Perhaps because he fears I cannot bear it, and right though he might be, I want to know. Omen chuckles low and deep, deeper than his usual voice, a timbre that resonates in my chest. Ooh, that image. But he draws away and turns around, and once more I'm treated to the massive, intricate tattoo that spans his shoulder blades for a second before he turns again. Ah, that. Slightly disappointed that we don't get to see it in this CG. The Homeward brand. Is that what humans call it? I begin to shake my head, only to realize Omen probably can't see me. I don't know if it's the same thing. The Homeward brand is an imprint of a demon on the body of their contractor. The binding terms of an agreement? But you're a demon yourself, so probably not. Omen makes a noise I can't quite decipher the meaning of. I can sense the pulsating. Perhaps the word is energy from the brand. Feel it similarity to Omen's presence and pick out the difference. It also feels almost broken, stymied, the likeness of a clockwork device not quite working right. Almost. The cause is likely the savage scars crisscrossing my tattoo. Instinctively, I reach out to try and touch them, but Omen withdraws. He smiles reassuringly at my noise of apology, shaking his head. He pulls his shirt on once more, explaining further. It won't heal? Omen shakes his head. There's a peculiar sorrow to his eyes. He trails off, eyes averted. I can sense his reluctance. The pain in his words is unspoken. His tail curls gently around my wrist as we look at each other. The weight of our differences is its own suffocating blanket. How many years until my life runs out? And how many eons until Omen forgets my name, till he no longer goes by that name at all? I know what you're thinking. Is it that obvious? No. There's a promise in that, somewhere. I tilt my head as studying his eyes, and Owen's expression is too somber to be called earnest. But there's something like it, all the same. Thank you, Omen. Don't know if I'll ever say that enough, for, well, everything. You're quite welcome. Omen trails off. He gently pries free of my grasp and leans back. For a long moment, he studies the sunlight on the floor almost pensively. Oh, Omen, honey, it's not just your fault. Yes, you left that streak between boundaries, but someone took advantage of the situation. It doesn't mean it's your fault entirely. One thing I've learned from studying history, and my dad watches a show called Air Disasters, and watching that, there is rarely one single cause of a problem, of an issue. There is usually multiple factors that all intersect to cause the problem. So Omen running, yes, that was one cause of the situations that we're faced with in the game. But he is not the only cause. I grip his hand to stop him. When Omen gives me a startled look, I firmly shake his head, my head. You are not responsible for what the Lieutenant General chooses to do in response to it. Bingo. Omen smiles at me gratefully, but there's a reluctance to his silence that I know means he doesn't quite believe what I said. Of course he wouldn't. He's Omen. He wouldn't be Omen if he didn't feel responsible. Shaking my head, I run my hands up his arms and rest them on his shoulders. There's always a choice. When we're pushed to the end of our means, there's always a choice. Hard as it is, that choice is always ours to make. Yes, you're right. I smile at him, but deep down I wish General Addington had made a different choice. Even now, what I've learned, I don't want them to be true, I find. Because if they are true, then obedience and faith to the enforcement are as much founding backbones of what a hunter is as our skills and our training. You intend to confront him. Not that, then something must be done all the same. Omen tilts his head. I muster up a brief smile, though even I can feel how unevenly it sits on my face. Betrayal, conspiracies, quite the mess going on in this town, huh? If you don't mind me asking, why call yourself Omen? So, profession. Omen starts to shake his head, then pauses. Slowly, contemplatively, he nods. Then suddenly, he smiles sheepishly. Yay! She thought I'd pick that option with him. Who made that joke? I try not to think about how likely it is that I was the one who made that joke. Omen covers his mouth with one hand, eyes squinted in laughter. I wouldn't have blamed you to want to get away from what you told me about. In fact, his remorse is rare and welcome. I've seen fewer humans willing to admit fault for fucking things up. The person who approves mine on August paychecks being one of them. He says it warmly and traces my lips with a finger. Laughs when I chase it, kiss it, and take his hand in mine and kiss his palm. At some point, his hands are on my waist and his mouth is hot on mine. Once again, we fall back down into a tangle of limbs and simmering need to touch. Soon I must get up. Soon I must get ready. Soon I must face the fallout of everything I've learned. Soon. But the now is ours. And I intend to make the most of it. The next few days felt surreal as I relayed my encounter with James to those who most needed to hear. The revelations were met with both shock and horror, but mostly anger. Duh. Unsurprisingly, we all found ourselves with the very same question heavy on the tip of our tongues. Why? I can't deny that the world we live in is a terrifying and uncertain one, but it's all that I know, all that I ever have known. Finn tells me that even before the revelation date, there were unexplained disappearances, murders, grisly things found but never spoken of. Corruption is inevitable in organizations such as this one, but for something so profound and nefarious to be going on right under our noses, I can't help but wonder if the ends justify the means in the little scheme that started in the brain of our leader. The cost is so high, the loss is vast and heartbreaking, and exactly when does it end? Where does the line get drawn when the divide between what's right and wrong is so very blurred? Would it have been safer for us all to live in ignorant bliss all this time, or would they have overrun us eventually anyway? Maybe, but these are the cards we've been dealt, and Harold Addington has a dirty hand. I'm still biding my time, trying to gather any final scraps of information while I wait for word that Harry has reappeared. As I do most days now, I walk the town from one end to the other. Lunaris is easy to patrol, as small as it is, and the townsfolk seem almost relieved when I pass by. Yeah, even the city where I live is not that tiny. I don't know if I actually saw any villages this small when I was in Europe. The enforcers have become such a suffocating presence here lately, and every time I encounter one, I can't help but feel like I'm being watched. Are they all in on this? Well, not August, obviously. I find myself in the woodland at the edge of the graveyard. The sun's shining, but the air crisp and cold. The grass crunches beneath my boots, and I see a path of destruction as I walk into an open clearing. Anyone else would be alarmed to see the destruction I find, would likely suspect a creature had been the one to carve jagged whelps into the trunks of the trees, but I know what caused this, and it was certainly no creature. I find her a little further in, kneeling in the dirt, her head bowed. Beside her are two pieces of what once was a trading staff, cracked down the center. I approach quietly, and when she looks up, I see a blankness in her eyes, her expression sour. Piper? She forces a smile, her chest heaving with labored breath, sweat slicking her flushed skin. Michelle? She hauls herself from the ground, kicking aside the splintered wood with a grunt. Then she retrieves two intact staves from the bag, nestles in a pile of overgrown grass, and holds it out to me. I know you've come to talk about deep shit, so how about you humor me and let me kick your arse while we're at it? I keep my gaze fixed upon hers as I take one of the staves from her. So cocky. Piper shrugs, nonchalant and definitely cocky. You know I'm right. Our staves meet with a solid thwack, those sapphire eyes meeting me head-on, Piper lunges forward with a grin. She's hyper-focused, strong, and I match her blow for powerful blow with ease. Why are you out here? There's a trading room back at headquarters. Piper rolls her eyes, wiping sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. I hadn't noticed. She launches herself forward again, and I have to step back a few paces when she pushes against the pressure of our crossed weapons. I lose my purchase against the muddy forest floor, skidding, and then she's drawing back. You mean again. Shit. I'm used to one-on-one combat, used to the intricacies of it, but Piper is no creature, and it's been a hell of a long time since I sparred with one of my own kind. Her staff makes a solid arc towards my legs, and in a vain attempt at darting out of her way, I find myself falling in an inelegant sprawl. The world tumbles until it reorients itself when I land on my back, my head tilted back to see Piper standing above me with a far too strong smile upon her face. The hilt of her staff just barely grazes the arc of my very exposed throat. I weigh out my options very carefully. Gotcha. We're gonna distract her. I seize the moment, taking advantage of her smug satisfaction. I swing upward with my staff, the angle terrible, but not entirely useless, as it serves its purpose, hitting hers out of her hands. I jump up, brushing dirt and leaves and whatever other crap lives in the Lunarian forest from my trousers, watching as Piper holds up her hands in defeat, her chest heaving. She eyes her staff, but too far away for her to reach. Do you yield? Piper steps closer, taking my weapon in her hands and shoving. She scoffs, but her tone is playful when she responds. Yes, but it worked. Don't set your demon on me now, will you? I laugh at her, and she drops her hands, playtime over. She pauses, eyeing me warily. So what do you actually come here for? What did you actually come here for, then? You've been avoiding me. Piper presses her lips, averting her gaze. She has been actively staying clear of me since the day after I woke up. I've given her space and respected that the things I divulged would be difficult for her to swallow. Yeah, more difficult than... I think the only other person that would be really difficult for would be August, for obvious reasons. Well, what I hope are obvious reasons. But as time drags on, we draw closer to a point where we'll have to face all of this corruption. And, well, I need Piper, the only other hunter I can truly bring myself to trust, but most importantly, my friend. It's almost time, you know. At least, I hope. She pokes the dirt with the toe of her boot, as wonderfully defiant as she always is. I know. Want to get it over with, right? Her eyes are fierce and bright when she finally dares to meet my gaze. Not everything. What he's done. She scoffs again, anger rolling off of her in messy waves that break over me, almost leaving me breathless. If I have to kill her, if she became what Azazel did... You better have a really good fucking explanation for all of this, you know? How could he? He's killed people, his own people. His husband, indirectly, but still, imagine that. I can't imagine it. Think about Omen, knowing with everything I have that I could never hurt him. I love him too much. It's unfathomable, and he'll pay for it. Fucking right he will. Then her shoulders slump, and she slowly looks around at the mess she's made of the clearing. I should go. I need to clear my head in a way that doesn't involve beating the shit out of trees. Or me. Or you. I'll see you around, yeah? Without so much as a second glance, Piper turns and disappears into the forest. I understand why she's hurting so much, and I just wish I could help. And speaking to Harry, maybe I can. I approach the ibex with the same level of caution and awareness I always do, even though I'm now quite well acquainted with its inhabitants. There's a young woman at the doors who straightens when I approach. Something in that single movement, not to mention her attire and the pistols that decorate her holster, suggests a trained fighter. But when she meets my eyes, there's only curiosity there, not wariness. I remember Harry mentioning a guard who works at the Ibex sometimes, Flux or Raven's partner. Perhaps this is her. Notice the dots there, just to show vampire bite marks. And also, I don't know if people remember, but Raven had the other half of this. I forget which one is yin and yang. But I think it's sweet, that subtle little hints at their relationship. Oh, and just out of curiosity, I wrote down everyone's height. There we go. Yeah, Lux is 5 foot. So for once, she's short. So she's the same height as Robin, my hunter but romance Piper. Hunter Dubois, I assume? I nod, offering her a small smile. She praises me for a moment, and then her wariness fades. She sticks out a hand with great enthusiasm and grins from ear to ear when I take it. It's nice to finally meet you. You meet her sooner if you romance Finn, whether by himself or with Ezra. Likewise, may I enter? She inclines her head and steps aside, arms crossed. I'm not going to stop you. I give her a polite nod and quickly move along, able to feel her eyes on my back until the door swings shut and spares me from her attention. It's cold inside, even though it's daytime. The place is just as dilapidated as it was when I first visited. But towards the altar at the end, it seems like someone has been cleaning up. The floor is swept, a crimson cloth covers the altar, and seated upon it with her fluted legs swinging, attention firmly fixed upon what looks like an embroidery hoop, is Elaine. I wait a moment before approaching to give her some time to notice me, but her eyes and hands remain focused on her task. Eventually, I give up and just go up to her. She likely knows I was coming from down the street anyhow, if she's anything like most demons I've encountered. Sure enough, there's no surprise in Elaine's brown eyes when she looks up at me, smiling warmly and setting her project aside. Hello, Hunter Dubois. I stop and blink, and Elaine frowns immediately, pressing her finger to her lips. There's a mellowness to her aura that doesn't put me at ease as he does, and as Elaine peers at me with open amusement and interest, I can't put it into words, but somehow I think I know why. I heard you encountered the creature. Yes, I did. Did Omen tell you? Elaine shakes her head, then shrugs. I'm sorry, though, Michelle. I take it you saw your kin in that chimera? This time it's definitely a chill that runs down my spine. How did you know? I've heard it crying, and I found its presence strange. I didn't investigate, though. Elaine covers her mouth with a hand, her brow furrowed as she stares at the red cloth beneath her seat. I didn't think it was your target. It was sad, not dangerous. You heard it cry? When? A little while ago now. Was a very sad thing. If it were once human. I quickly put a hand to my lips. No one knows that detail yet, aside from those I told, and Lex is just outside the door. Elaine blinks at me slowly, calmly. She tilts her head to the left, then to the right, sizing me up. Then she exhales. Is that disappointment or sadness that I sense? Are you looking for Omen? There's a distinct and uncomfortable feeling that the more I talk to Elaine, the more likely she'll get upset. That feeling is accompanied by the gut-deep knowledge that the princess is not like the prince. She wears this human glamour as firmly and easily as Omen does, and their eyes have the same kind cast. But she looks at me like a demon looks at a mortal, and I don't know if I want to see the version of me that's reflected in her eyes. Not right now. Not with Harry and what he's done weighing on my soul like a stone-hard burden. Yes, do you know where he is? Same here. Elaine hops off, grabs her embroidery and dives into one of the side ones. As the last flash of her tail vanishes, the front of the temple also changes. The clean-swept stone floor becomes dusty and cobwebby again, save the imprint of her boots on the ground. The altar returns to its dusty state, and the red cloth thrown over it just straight up evaporates. An illusion. I didn't even notice. I didn't even sense that there was anything wrong with such a large swath of the room. That says something about Elaine's power. Before I can dwell too much on how Elaine managed it, a familiar figure emerges. Omen smiles with open relief when he sees me. He closes the distance between us in a moment and takes my hands in his and presses a kiss to my knuckles. Thought you'd be busy until later today. I am, but I wanted to see you, selfishly. Lucky you're here. I can at least make it look like work, right? The sheer happiness radiating from him is its own kind of work. Omen touches my face, his elegant fingertips tracing the line of my jaw. His eyes gleam. Well, I'm glad to see you. I missed you. Omen laughs softly, then winks. Yes. You're far more than just a distraction. Oh, yes. Omen blinks. Then he laughs quiet, but so sweet. His tail curls around the hand I hold loose near my waist. I instinctively stroke it between my fingers. Oh, that reminds me, I don't know why it's just hitting me now. Someone tweeted pictures of their Omen cosplay, and it looks amazing. Omen's smile is almost shy. Do you have some time? Of course. Placing his fingers with mine, Omen gives my hand a gentle tug and guides me into a dark corner of the church. I honestly have no idea what he's trying to do to me, except that the winter part of my brain is hilariously upset at how easily I'm being led away into the dark by a demon prince. Soon, however, my curiosity is sated, for there, in a tiny crack of dirt below a pillar where the stone floor has been pried away, grows a bundle of glowing red flowers. I recognize the flora almost immediately. Brimstone lilies, named for the distinct ember-like glow they possess, and are penchant to bloom only where there's a demonic presence to feed off of. Pretty, and a telling clue for those like myself who know what they mean, but otherwise their existence is useless. This church could probably use decoration if these things decide to overgrow here. You think so? It certainly beats the decrepit air faintly smelling of death and despair. And it will remind me of you. As I watch, he crouches down and reaches for the lilies. They tremble and visibly tilt in the direction of his hand, as though wanting to touch him. Omen twirls his fingers around the stem of the tree and pulls, yanking them from the ground. I half expect the fiery glow to immediately extinguish, as brimstone lilies are known to do when deprived of earth, but instead they glow even brighter, curling tight to his hands. He straightens, cradling them, and they glow brighter and dim, and Omen curls the stems tight together and offers them to me. Aww! Tentatively, I take the gift from him. The lilies gleam bright still, and to my senses radiate warmth and a sliver of a presence not unlike his own. A keepsake, a very, very individualized keepsake, I realize. Omen, I hope it's not too much. He wraps his hands around mine, and the lilies flare a little brighter before subsiding again. I kiss him. I kiss him and hold on, relishing in the press of our lips from the way he kisses back, as soft as mine, and then more forcefully. His long lashes brush my cheek. His glamour is damn good, and yet in this moment my senses pick up the raw gargantuan presence behind him, too. Something familiar, yet wholly alien, something that looms though it crouches, red-hot coals pressed against my skin, yet neither burning nor rejecting me. Omen draws back, a secret smile on his lips, and a finger pressed firmly to mine even as I try to chase him. His eyes are glowing in the dark, but they settle back into the ordinary, warm chestnut brown soon enough. Suddenly I understand why humans look at demons and become so charmed. I understand where stories of mad, uncontrollable attraction come from. Enter. The sound of my title is like a I don't know if they're meant to be tail or ball. Cold water splashed at my face. I blinked and jerked back, shaking my head. Then I kissed him, again on the cheek this time, in full control of myself. Frostbite. I love you. I'm glad. Always. I carefully tuck the flowers into my belt, then wrap Omen up in a tight hug. He reciprocates, resting his chin on my shoulder. For a long, blissful moment, time stops. We're safe. Together. But it must end. I have so much to say about the things that plague my mind. I should go. I have to gather my thoughts. His expression sours, but with sadness rather than disappointment. Ah, yes, the Lieutenant General. What will you do? I have to confront him as soon as he shows respect. Now, I haven't even been discussing the different options because for me there really is only one option. But there are three possible endings. Well, two. And the one ending you only get if you sympathize with Harry. And I only brought myself to pick that ending once, and I made sure I didn't romance anyone for that ending. I don't think I could ever bring myself to pick it for when I do romance someone. It feels like a betrayal. And Harry already did that. You can't allow this to continue. No, it can't. I suspect August will be present. They need closure more than I do. Yeah, because, August looked up to Harry and kind of considered him a better father figure than his own father, as their father was. And now that trust, that belief has been betrayed. So yeah, August definitely needs to be there for the discussion with Harry, and they will be. But I don't think you should do anything anyway. If you're sure, I'm sure. Harry is an old, wily soldier. I'd rather not confront him with him knowing that I have your ear. He doesn't know of our involvement already. But I won't do it unprepared. You have my word. I gave his hand a reassuring squeeze, then let go. I should go. Oh, Omen, thank you. I almost laughed. A demon having faith? But Omen's smile as I step away with a wave is as knowing as it is sad. It's very true. I'll remember that, as I'll remember you. Aw, Jesse. Ah. Alcor is waiting for me outside of the temple, much to my lack of surprise. I've had the sense he's been keeping an eye on me more than usual since the encounter with the creature. My thanks for... I might have been convinced that I was mistaken, if not for the pout and the defiance on his face. Stifling a grin, I raised my hands in a gesture for peace instead. No need to poke the sensitive wolf today. Waiting for me. I take it you want to talk? I feel loved, and the whole gestures vaguely in my direction. I can't quite get his meaning. I'm not entirely sure Alucard himself knows what he means either, because the expression on his face is one I can't read. One of the many things I've learned about the half-lycan is either he won't lie, or he's hellishly bad at it. It reminds me of the folk stories of wolves as betrayers and deceivers. Even now, and not just surrounding Alucard, I wonder if those who told the folklore mistook wolves for foxes, or for their neighbors. Maybe they're both. The whole debacle? Yeah, that. A pause, almost awkward. I'm just here to handle all your feelings for you. Is that it? Oh, oh. I appreciate the effort you took to arrive at that question. He's not used to carry. I love it. Or at least not expressing it this way. Everything is a mess, I suppose. I'm not just going to let all of it and all of what we've learned go if this is what you're worried about. And isn't he the one who told us not to trust anyone, especially him? Something probably dangerous, or if you won't, they'll force you into it. He says it with such bitterness, with such certainty, that I know immediately the sentiment must have come from personal experience. I'll do my utmost to prove them unnecessary. I won't be cut dead by anyone else saying this, but if you do, I'd appreciate that. I'm sure you would. Then he inhales deeply, lets out slow. So humor me. What are you up to? So again, so we're basically going to have a variation of this conversation with every single thread. So Piper, Omen, now Alcar. So that leaves Ezra, Finn, and August. And August will be last because we'll talk with them right before the consultation, which ends chapter. Um, so again, we're condemning Harry. We are not sympathizing with him. I look away. Every time someone asks this, every time I ask myself the same question, I hope that the answer would come easier by now. That I'd be more sure, but it changes almost by the minute. I'll confront him. I'm a general, and though he's my superior, I stop there. Arthur has been remarkably upfront with me about everything, despite his original warning to not trust anyone in this town, including himself. See? Even the game remembers that. That doesn't mean Winter's business is for his 4 ears. That's an old, easy excuse. In truth, it's more that I don't want to say the words and make them real. That's rough, buddy. That has to be a reference to Avatar. Even I have heard this before, and I barely watched Avatar. I have to be in a certain mood to watch something new, and I just haven't been in the mood. But I've heard quite a lot about Avatar and had been spoiled for a shit ton of stuff. I'm sorry. Should you be? He dragged you into this knowing full well you were just an easy blame for something he's explicitly done. Yeah, he sure fucking did, and you won't catch me red-handed doing the same thing, blaming people not a part of his pyramid of shit. Anyway, that's good. Figured so, but, gives me some peace of mind. At least till it actually fucking happens. What would you have done if I said I understand where he came from and played with him? The possibility is ridiculous, but my curiosity burns. Seems, and if we're already ass deep in this kind of tense talk, what is one more match to the flames? Then you would have been what I expected. I've no faith in the hunters, save maybe 2 or 3, and that won't change with your stellar example. But from me to you, thanks. my Alcar never change. Tell me you aren't trying to drain Finn's wealth within your lifetime. You could pay taxes. Pay taxes to your boss. He has a point there. I have an appointment to catch with my enforcer anyway. Wow, I'll pray for you. Thank you. With a laugh and a shake of his head, Alcar shoves his hands deep into his pockets and ambles away towards the tavern's direction. I wait until he's out of sight before heading my own way. The sun shadowy disappears beyond the horizon as I step into the magic shop, passing what I assume to be Ezra's final customer for the night with a smile. He looks exhausted when I catch his eye across the counter, but he still smiles warmly when I approach. You look tired. So do you. Ezra has a quiet laugh, and Coco peeps loudly at him, appearing from between his feet with her usual attitude. He rolls his eyes before looking down at the feline, raising a dark brow at her almost accusingly. No, absolutely not. Don't know why there was that hesitation. She chirps at him in return, and I swear she almost looks angry. I'm sorry? Sorry, it's nothing. Then he gently nudges Coco with his foot, and with a defiant flick of her tail, she darts to the purple curtain and into the back room. Cats, eh? Having grown up with at least one cat in the house for most of my life, yes. I sympathize entirely. I think there was... I don't know if we've ever not had a cat in the house. Maybe when I was very young. Yeah, because my parents got a cat for their first anniversary, and by the time he passed away, we had a dog. And then by the time the dog passed away, we had more cats, and we've always had at least one cat since then. So we've always had a pet. We have never been without pets, so we've always had to deal with pets for all over the place. And other sundry problems with pets. Anyway, he picks up a pile of books stacked by the cash register and inclines his head for me to follow him. I oblige, watching as he pops each one back in its rightful place. Aww. He turns, eyeing my side, knowing full well his magic healed me perfectly and yet still finding the time to worry for me. Oh, sweetheart. Though unconsciously, I still press my hand over the place where the wound once lay, an almost phantom ache settling deep in my ribs, as if my body is aware that there should be something there. Physically, I'm fine. The last book gets pushed between its shelf-mates, and Ezra turns to face me fully, concern etched upon his face. You need to figure this out before everyone gets hurt. I clear my throat, offering him a clipped smile. I just feel like I'm in limbo with the whole Harry situation. I'm supposed to be on my way to see August right now, and yet you can't bring yourself to go. I shake my head, letting my hand fall numbly to my side. Still, I try to keep the true extent of my worry off my face, pretending that the hurt, bitter undercurrents, the knowledge that I was burdened with, don't leave me feeling nauseous. For now, the only thing I can try to do is be honest, but try to be strong. For them. For all of them. No, I can't. Ezra smiles at me, an almost sympathetic edge to it. I do hope he isn't pitying me, but then Ezra is so very kind that I can't view it as anything other than innocent. Come, let me make you some tea. I nod, actually thinking how I could try very much to do with a cup of something warm to clear my head right now. I'd like that, thank you. Ezra fills the kettle, placing it upon the stove and stepping towards me as it begins to whistle quietly. So, I assume Gus will be with you when you meet with Harry? If so, I imagine you and them will be more than capable of handling anything he tries to throw at you. And I've been meaning to ask, if you don't mind, of course. He stares me down with those wide, wise eyes. How are you going to approach him exactly? I mean, you've had time to process all this. A little, anyway. And again, we are not sympathizing, we are condemning. Why are you not showing up? I don't know why there's a delay. I bite my lip, almost wanting to hold back the rage I feel boiling and bubbling in my chest. The things Harry has done, the things the enforcers have done. Centuries of pain and suffering, tearing children from their families and turning them into monsters. I'll put a stop to this, finish it, once and for all. He reaches for me across the table, taking my hand in his own and holding it tight. No. I studied him for a long minute, wanting to respond immediately and with conviction, but I'm unsure of what I might come to face. I'll do my best. I sit in silence for a little while, only to have it broken by a quiet tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. I look around and then down, realizing it's coming from underneath the floor. Ah, of course. Finnegan. Ezra beams when I look at him, and it pleases me to see him, to see them so happy once again. Yes! We both stand, and Ezra reaches to unlatch the lock that keeps the opening to the catacombs locked, while I pull back the rug that covers it. When golden eyes appear in the darkness, I feel a chill roll down my spine. He immediately goes to Ezra, drawn to him like a moth to a flame, and he presses a quick, chaste kiss to his lips. Hello, Angel. Ah, I love that his nickname for Ezra is Angel. So perfect. They lace their fingers, standing close, and Finn turns his attention to me. Okay. I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV, and Gideon Emery does voices for that too, and fuck. I don't know what it is about his voice, but I just really, really like it. I find it very sexy. Michelle is on their way to see August. Finn crinkles his nose at that, apparently unimpressed. Yeah, don't blame him. Oh? Oh? Does he have more information? He shrugs. I see. Well, considering I'm still avoiding going to see August, we could go now? Excellent. Esther clears his throat, his lashes dipping as he squeezes Finn's hand. His prosthetic comes alive, flickering and kind. You'll return? I always do, don't I? Esther's quiet laugh is infectious, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He exudes happiness. You do. Come then, Michelle, into the hole you go. Ezra and I both look at him with blank expressions, and Finn merely rolls his eyes, sighs, and ushers me onwards. I don't get it either. We say goodbye to Ezra, watching as we descend into the depths of the catacomb tunnels. A shadowy figure waits for us outside Finn's quarters, and I smile when I see a shock of white hair and friendly crimson eyes. Hunter Dubois, it's a pleasure to see you again. It's good to see you too, under better circumstances this time. If I looked hard enough, I swear I could see his mouth twitch. Bureau studies me with a certain intensity for a moment. I feel a strange sense of calm washing over me, but he frowns, a blinking illicit thing, but I see it before his face falls into that carefully calculated stoicism. I will not keep you long. I just wanted to thank you for finding me. I owe you a debt of gratitude for assisting with my extraction. I gather you'll be meeting with Lieutenant General soon? I swallowed thickly, my throat tight. All of a sudden, there it is again, that uncertainty, that push and pull of conflicting emotions, swirl in my gut and almost suffocates me. I nod a little too quickly, and though Piero doesn't show it, I know he can feel my unease. I will be, yes, whenever he decides to show his face. Finn scoffs at that, leaning against a jagged stone wall with the perfect kind of handsome nonchalance that not many could achieve. Yeah, but he's not you, and he didn't. Piero continues to watch me, his stare unwavering. Well, the sooner the better. I'd quite like all this to be over. Yeah, don't blame ya. Indeed. Finn nudges him with his elbow, and Piero barely shifts, holding himself like some ancient statue in almost unnerving stillness. Tell them what you saw in the dungeons before you were rescued. There was a lot of commotion down there the night you killed the creature. They were unorganized, clearly distressed. I watched carefully, and I saw something strange. A hunter, or what was once a hunter. Now I'm not so sure. I pale at the thought, remembering the way the creature looked at me as it lunged, teeth bared, and the way that my body told me I was fighting one of my own before I ended its life. His life. It was female, of that much I am certain. Oh, fuck. She was wailing all night after they shoved her back into one of the cells. They must have been in a rush because they weren't as cautious in hiding her as they had been before. She's more whole than the other one. Whatever they've done to her, she's too far gone, driven mad, feral even. Never felt anything quite like it. An impossible flurry of pain and confusion, but mostly anger. No. Finn steps forward, seeing the way my eyes widen and my hands begin to shake. I can't face another. Michelle. I look at Finn, noting his concern over the way my heart lurches in my chest. I nod at him, exhaling a sharp breath to refocus. Damn it. Emotion. Good writing, fuck. You're sure? The quiet vampire nods, his lips pursed into something that looks like an attempt at a grimace. I am certain, and I am also sorry. It's fine. It's expected, actually. Just works to hear to have it confirmed. I nod. We will not let you face it alone. You will never be alone. Oh, Finn. Piero shares a look with Finn before nodding his agreement. I will leave you now. Thank you, Piero. He offers a stiff bow as Finn pushes open the door to his quarters, making a beeline for the carafe of scotch upon his desk. Then Piero casts me a final lingering glance before he disappears into the darkness. I can't help but feel like he sensed something in me that he didn't like. But whatever it was, I'm unsure. Getting there. I close the door to his quarters, finding him sitting in front of his bed, two glasses of his favorite poison clutched in his hands. Would you like one? Looks like you could use it. What the hell? Yeah. Let's try to see if we accept the drink. Actually, I have to take that at my desk right under my chair. Okay. Let's kind of sit on your desk and make a decision. Okay, so I have a D4 again, and odd number we take the drink, even number we don't. It's a 2, so we don't. I'm fine, thank you. He smiles, winking at me as he pours the second drink into his own glass. Bottoms up, and drinks the majority of the rich amber liquid in one swift swig. I've never had scotch. I don't know how it's supposed to feel, but I've heard that it's supposed to burn going down. I've usually just had cocktails, so when I've had alcohol, I can't even taste that it's alcohol. I've never had any. I've had wine straight, but I think that's it. and it did not taste good. Back to me anyway. I miss being drunk, just the peace it used to bring me. This wasn't necessarily a good thing, but oh, did I have my fun. The glass is wistful, and I wonder how long the vampire lives before they begin to forget their human days. I daren't ask him, for I don't want to sour the mood, but one day, maybe. Surely there are ways for you to become inebriated, even if it's not quite the same? Finn shrugs. Sure there is. There are many ways, actually, but the buzz wears off before you can really even enjoy it. Besides, there are other ways to find pleasure. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm somehow sure you've explored them all. I laugh at the way he waggles his brows, his pointed ears twitching alongside them. As he watches me, his smile fades, his dark brows drawn together. And so, you can't help but notice. He smirks when I raise a single brow almost accusingly, as if it isn't obvious what plagues me. I mean, would you like to discuss? I shrug as if the things that bother me aren't completely earth-shattering. There's so much riding on me and the decisions I make. I never expected to carry such a burden in coming here. I'm sure you have. I'm sure some of them you've known carnally. Maybe. He smiles, tilting his head. Lunaris is lucky to have you on its side. He drops his gaze to his lap, his brow twitching into a frown. Now, tell me, what do you intend to say to dear Harold when you finally face him? His eyes search my face as if looking for answers I don't know how to give, or don't want to give. Again, condemning. We are not sympathizing. No, 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 no. Not this time. I ponder my response because, truly, my thoughts are still jumbled, anxiety mounting. But one thing I know for sure is that what Harry has done, is doing, is wrong. I'll confront him and expect straight answers. I want to know why he did it. He's right, and somehow that thought hasn't crossed my mind. But Harry cares for Argus deeply, and they will be by my side. I'm not sure Harry would want to bring him to Argus, or even myself. Finn looks at me like I've gone mad. He had changed to help him, didn't he? Finn scoffs, and I can tell his frustration is mounting. I stare at him. It's strange way he almost vibrates. Is it fear, maybe? Something long ingrained in him after the hell his sire put him through. The mere thought of the moon has him shaken like this? Harold Addington put him down in one night with the same ease in which he puts his boots on in the morning. I suppose I should go then. I don't exactly sound convincing. In fact, I think I'd be quite happy to stay down here and hide away from my responsibilities a little longer. But I must be responsible, unfortunately. I must be an adult. Finn shifts to stand, running a hand through his hair, rubbing at his chin. He's twitchy tonight, showing more signs of humanity than I'm used to from him. I smile at him, reaching for the handle of the door. I've fought much bigger, much scarier things than Harold Addington. As the words leave my mouth, I feel a terrible dread washing over me, and Finn notices. Yep. Farewell, Hunter. Dun dun dun! We're getting close. I find August in her office staring at their desk. It's rife with papers strewn in different stacks, but without its usual method. They look worse than usual, look despondent, almost as if they've given up being prompt and orderly, but I know that's not the case. August is adept at keeping the flow of reports moving quickly, a stickler for punctuality. I tap the door once with my knuckles, and they grant me permission to enter with a lazy nod of their head. I know that's not true, but the defeat in their tone makes me think they've been like this for some time. I don't think they know my lifestyle is quite for you, August. They have a laugh, sighing heavily, uncharacteristically slumped in their chair. I poke at the seemingly never-ending pile of parchments and take a seat before them, pointedly ignoring their macabre declaration. What's all of this anyway? This seems to be more than usual. August shrugged, waving their hand dismissively over the mess. I so graciously offered to take some of his work off his hands when James passed. Their lips curl and twist and narrow, their teeth bared, and their next words are almost venomous, distinctly lacking emotion. Aren't I kind? They're tired, frustrated, overworked, and apparently overcome with bitterness. In one way, I'm grateful. Seeing them upset and so downtrodden over Harry, I hated it, but this mood doesn't suit them. I truly long for a day where I see them well rested and appreciated. I just want to know you're going to be okay. You're working yourself to the bone. Another dismissive wave of their hand, and I gather I'm not going to get much more than that out of them. Excuse me. I will be fine, Michelle. I have to be, don't I? I watch as they pinch the bridge of their nose, their weak argument not all that convincing. A quiet knock at the door grabs our attention, and a timid junior pokes their head around the frame, awkwardly raising their hand at August. General Willingham? They raise their brow at him, their impatience clear. What? You asked me to let you know when the Lieutenant General returns. Well, he's in his office. I just saw him. Thank you, recruit. You can go. You can go now, and do not tell anyone what I asked of you. You see the heavy bob of their throat and the flush that paints their cheeks as August quickly moves to stand, and with a nod, the boy scurries away. August and I share a look, and I wonder if they're thinking the same as me, that we're not ready. Can you ever be ready for something like this? Or that we don't want this, scared of what we'll learn, and that it'll all become real at long last. August places a trembling hand upon my arm, their eyes wide and bright, and when they speak, there's a sort of manic edge to their words, their voice. They tighten their grip on me, and for the first time since I've known them, August Willenheim looks scared. I feel something thick in the air, a kinetic shift, an almost suffocating buzz. August, breathe. They exhale sharply, and their aura is distinctly panicked. I place my hand over theirs and feel a shock as their skin moves, but my touch calms them enough for the air to clear, so I relent and don't pull away. It's okay. It's going to be okay. No, it's not. It's not. They shake me off, pacing, angry tears trailing their cheeks. August. Was I so blinded by that affection that I didn't see the evil in him? Again, we're condemning him. We are not sympathizing. No, 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 no. Maybe one day. I shake my head, knowing August is not a bad judge of character. Harry is just good. good at manipulating, or spectacularly talented in disassociation. You weren't to know August, as none of us knew or could possibly dream it might be him. I mean, he's a lieutenant general. Who would suspect him? I mean, we the readers, because we read this, but still, who would suspect Harry, of all people? But I hope it does, for that record. But I hope it does make this, no, not that, this. I hope it makes this letter clear. I mean, when we got the correct country, but still, it does clarify some things, I hope. They scoff, rolling their eyes. What does it say about their parents, though, that they didn't feel that they never were told that, or very rarely? And I mean, Ezra told us that August's parents compared them to Ezra. I think they did that in hopes that August would stop tutoring Ezra for free. That's just a thought I had just now. Don't believe he realizes what he's doing is wrong, but that doesn't excuse it, and nor does it make you look and make you complicit. August laughs at that, a maniacal sound. That's true. We stand in silence for what feels like forever, both of us gathering our courage. We are all the protagonists of our own stories. We never see ourselves as the antagonist to someone else's story. This isn't going to be easy, or even marginally fun, but shall we? Before I get the chance to finish my sentence, I hear the all too familiar heavy thud of boots from the corridor. Here we go. And then Lieutenant General Harold Addington appears in the doorway with a smile upon his face. Unconsciously, I find myself tensing, bracing for what's about to come. If only this man was a hunter, someone I could read past the look on his face from basic human cues. If Harry is an evil man, he's adept at hiding it. His smile is kind, even now, and I wonder if he has any idea what kind of situation he's walking himself into. Sir? Harry nods at me, his eyes flicking to August, who's quite visibly distressed and poorly attempting to hide it. There were their emotions on their sleeves. I look at them, offering them a clipped smile, hoping it might help them keep it together. Thus we both fall apart. When you do this when you romance August, it's a little more painful in some ways. Harry, it's good to see you looking well. Their words are forced. Harry doesn't appear to be planning on staying long, his gauntlet long-sworded coat remaining in place. Instead, he eyes us both as he crosses the room, stopping in front of the fireplace that flickers invitingly. They're struggling and mostly failing to keep the exasperation out of their voice. At this point, I wonder if it's just easier to tear the bandage off the wound, expose the rotting flesh, lest August truly cast a storm upon this building. Yeah, it's a very powerful witch, so entirely possible. I step forward, and August stands quickly, their chair scraping along the marble floor. Yes, I want to say they are falling apart, much like your town, your country. I quickly wade through the dark tangle of emotions that threatens to engulf me, and I clear my throat. We need to talk to you. Harry nods, still poised, still apparently completely clueless. Yeah. Now, let's keep in mind, Harry and August are both 6 foot, and my canon hunter, the one who romanced Piper, is 5 foot. So that is so that's basically for people familiar with the metric system, that's a 30 centimeter difference in height. So it's basically my hunter was a head shorter than the other two in the room. And August wears heels. Not tall heels, but their boots have heels. So these two tall people, and then this little short woman with long blonde hair. Very feminine. So, I don't actually have a mental image for Michelle. I'm still kind of figuring that out. I looked at August and they're in no state to initiate this conversation. Their hands are shaking, and I gathered that we're just seconds away from a messy display of untamed magic. Michelle? Harry quickly looks between us, finally focusing upon me when he sees that August is a lost cat. We're aware of what you're doing, of what you've done. The dead hunters, the missing hunters. He blanches, his skin going pale, but he's no fool, and Harry shifts from someone who's just been caught with blood upon their hands to someone painfully in denial in a split second. I have sold it. That's why I am accusing you. Ow! August scoffs loudly. He says it quickly, defensively, but the words are heavy upon his tongue. Then I use the most powerful weapon I possess. James. Harry freezes, truly turning pale now, all color draining from his ruddy cheeks, his eyes wide with shock and fear and pain at the utterance of his husband's name. I swear that if I listen close enough, I can hear the furious pounding of his heartbeat as it tries to tear free from his chest. He swallows thickly, then he laughs. So it's a manic sound, the laugh of a desperate man. You spoke with him again. For the briefest moment, I feel sorry for him. Then he looks at me almost longingly, desperate for even a scrap of information on his dearly departed. It seems selfish that I would be the one James would choose to communicate with, but he was a good man through and through, and he could see Harry's madness, knew he was the right thing to do. So this is another one where you only pick one, but which one you pick, all it is that flavor to the dialogue. So again, trusty dice. Why did I put my dice away? I forgot about this decision. Again, D4. And if people are confused as to what I mean by D4, I just mean it's a dice with 4 sides. So, a D4, odd number would go with the first one, even number would go with the second one. It's a 1, so we're going with the first one. He wanted me to tell you that he loves you. I look at August, and they're still seething, their jaw tightly clenched, hands balled into fists at their sides. They second a breath and drop their gaze from Harry as if they feel too much shame in looking at him. There's a flash of hope in Harry's eyes, almost as if he'd resigned himself to the fact that his beloved had disowned him in death, that James was too kind to forgive him for what he'd done. He stops himself, and there's a shift in the way he stands, the way he holds himself. August's words are venomous, biting. Harry drags his trembling fingers over his face, and in that gesture, it could easily be that 20-something enforcer that I saw in my dreams. He looks lost. He closes his eyes, and when he next speaks, I can hear a lifetime's worth of pain in his voice. God. August bristles at that, and I sense a seismic shift in the way they hold themselves. They angrily swipe the silent tears that streak their cheeks, and magic swirls about their fingers in messy undulations. Okay. There's a random voice acting that adds so much to it. I take a step closer, placing myself in front of them, between them. Harry watches them with an almost deluded level of disbelief, as if he couldn't possibly imagine August defying him in such a way. I place my hand upon August's arm, tugging gently at them as they moved a step forward towards him. But August shakes me off. They shove a finger in Harry's direction, their cheeks pink with anger. Their voices a rest of itself, a lost, almost childlike pain threading through their words, harsh enough that Harry flinches. Though his expression is still startlingly cold. Our disposal. Do you hear yourself, Harry? Then he turns his gaze to me, and he smiles. Then he makes an almost arrogant, greedy noise. In that moment, I see the Harry that I thought I knew, that August thought they knew, turn to ash, replaced by a man driven mad by frustration and now grief. Don't stop me now. But what's the price? Deplorable, unforgivable. Okay, this is the last chance to sympathize with Harry, and if this is the only time you do it, you have an option at the bad ending. But we are not going to sympathize. When the initial rush of commingled horror and fury wanes, I clear my throat and address Harry with as much confidence as I can muster. Tell us what you did to them, how you did this, so we know how to undo you. Harry praises me, clearly not impressed with the tone in which I give him, but he considers me regardless. I am. Tell me how you made me better. I try to feign interest, hoping to appeal to Harry's arrogance. He might have been driven to desperation, but I can see his tells. He's proud of his idea. He hums a sound of approval and begins. Let's, let's take a moment to think about what he just said. A vessel, designed to kill. Welch, soldiers. He sighs, disappointed. Say what? Disgust wells up in my throat at his callous comment. Remarkably uninspiring, you say? The anger I feel is matched in kind with August. Their aura is palpable, the air brimming with electricity. August is no hunter, but they were raised to be the best, conditioned to be nothing but the best. It's practically written at their birth. His speech cracks on for a mere second. I know. I know the life he talks about. I've seen it. But is that enough? As quickly as it goes, his posture uprights again. Harry continues that he's enchanted with his own words. To be better than them is what he considers a tactful means to change us. I wouldn't be surprised if he told us he was disappointed in our human design. Just like the Chimera. I think Harry might be irritated with how plainly I lay out that I already know, but instead he nods, something like respect crossing his features. As your speculations have led you to believe, yes, the Chimera is such a result. And then his face drops at the mayor. Clearly you are perceptive of how much is still a question, but bear in mind that this is a sacrifice for me too. August finally finds her voice again, but it's hoarse, venom spilling from every word. Playing with creation by his whims and tossing aside the victim as unfortunate accidents. How are we expected to believe in your sacrifice when it barely comes across that you understand where we stand? You used us. Harry looks to the both of us this time without remorse, and the scene playing out is unfamiliar. I don't remember Harry looking so scornful. You can reduce yourself to mere tools if you wish, but what I do is for the greater good. Yeah, he took the elixir, but it didn't work. He turns back to me now and raises his chin, staring past his nose at me. There's the question. Would I? Question rattles around in my brain, as do all the other words I've stood witness to, but more quickly than I had thought, my gut responds. Would I do everything to protect Omen? Absolutely. I would. There's a pause, and Harry exhales. His eyes flutter shut, and he smiles with some relief. When he opens them, they are less harsh, more inquisitive to us, as though the three of us had a trivial spat. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. We're almost done, I swear. It's just this. There's a lot to be revealed in this scene. I don't know which one. The outcome, it's either one still gives us the good outcome. But the way it comes about, it really only affects this part in the initial the upcoming confrontation with Harry. So got my trusty D4. So odd number would go with the first one, even number would go with the second one. 3, so we're going with the first one. This is going to be fun. The look August shoots me is sharp, incredulous, their expression cracking open to reveal a vulnerability I'd never seen before. It's beautiful, but frightening in its own way, as if I can hear them say, "No, don't." I hold their gaze, hoping that they could see what I'm doing, that they trust me. Please. They exhale sharply, their eyes frantically flicking between Harry and I, and then they nod. It's quick enough for Harry to miss because his focus is upon me and me alone. I am the one he wants, the one he needs. Though I know my words are not honest, it still pains me to say them. Yes, I understand. You have my cooperation. Harry inclines his head, gesturing for me to follow him. I swallow thickly, unmoving, literally stuck to the spot beside August as I come to terms with what I'm about to do. They're falling apart, their magic aglow, and messy fissures across their skin like cracks in porcelain. I want to tell them that I have to do this for the sake of Lunaris, to learn what he plans so we can defeat him, or whatever he has in store for us. And yet I can't, so August looks at me as though I've just signed the town's death warrant. August? They shake their head, averting their gaze. Ouch. I don't know if I've done this I did this once, and then I didn't really like how it came the end result, so I ended up redoing that playthrough, or at least that part of the playthrough. Harry lets out a deep chuckle, his eyes twinkling at the corners in genuine amusement. I throw them one last lingering look, hoping with every fiber of my being that August can see through the facade, that they could see I am still loyal to them, to the town, and that I would risk my own life to head into the lion's den with the lion himself guiding me gently by the hand. The drip, drip, drip of water upon stone drowns out the rush of hot blood in my ears, and I follow the tall figure deeper into the darkness. His boots are heavy, steps echoing, and I can hear the gentle scratch of his claw-tipped gauntlet as he drags his fingers along the metal bars of the cells we pass. And closer guards line the walls, where I stand to attention, eyes wide. I slowly begin to see why the enforcers had so dutifully followed his nefarious plan. They're terrified. We come to a halt outside of one of the farthest cells that sit in a darker corner of the dungeon, and Harry stands before it proudly, an almost loving gaze shining in his eyes. Take a look, Michelle. He gestures for me to step closer, his voice warm and inviting. I swallow away the fear that claws at my throat, threatening to choke me. I nod, stealing my gaze, and step forward to peek between the bars. I see a mass looming in the almost darkness. It's her, in the shape and form unidentifiable as neither human nor creature. With a quiet whimper, she opens her eyes. Oh, yeah. Harry hums, a satisfied noise. Um, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. He's near D4 again. So I remember we lied to him, even we don't. It's a win, so we're gonna lie to him. I clear my throat, and though I feel horror from seeing her, I also feel drawn to her. There's a strange, almost undeniable connection threading between us, and it's as though I can feel the lingering threads of her humanity, of the hunter within her. Strangely, it seems to me like a prayer, and I find myself having to pay mind to the fact that I am here to lie, to gather information. It still leaves me feeling sick. There's something about seeing it, about seeing her, that makes my blood turn cold in my veins. She's perfect. What do you mean? That's not creepy at all. Rainbird's finished. Harry sighs and eye lunges forward, sharpened teeth snapping. He remains unaffected despite her violent display, and simply inclines his head towards her, watching her with an unabashed fondness. He looks back towards the cell, and Aya has once again retreated into the darkness, no longer visible other than a pair of glowing crimson eyes. Is this what you're asking of me? Harry pauses, carefully considering his response. Why do you think I called you here? I asked for the best, and they sent me you. At first I thought they were toying with me. This hunter who befriends those who make a point of defying me? He smiles, something sad, his lashes dripping. That would be me, perhaps? Regardless, come, I have much to do. I cast Aya a final fleeting glance, and I steal my gaze as I follow Harry out of the dungeon. My heart hammers loudly as we approach August's office, but the lack of light streaming from beneath the door tells me that we'll find it empty. Harry tells me my suspicions are confirmed, and he looks up to me with a sad smile when we step inside. I offer him a quick smile, trying my hardest to seem complacent. Now, the terms of our agreement. He flexes the fingers of his gauntlet, the steel creaking quietly. Then he reaches into his coat and produces a vial. It feels eerily familiar, and the sight of dark, viscous liquid encased in delicate glass makes me feel sick. He holds it high, gazing at it, shamelessly proud of his nefarious creation. The moonlight that shines through the window hits the glass, the liquid more black than the red I remember from my dream, and my stomach churns. He tucks the vial back into his pocket, patting the heavy fabric. My stomach churns, but I nod curtly. Yes, Lieutenant General. He laughs, stepping forward to rest his hand upon my shoulder, and fixing me with a gaze that, so earnest, sends a chill rolling down my spine. I contemplate my next move. I could drag myself back to my room at the Wolf and drown in misery alone, I suppose. They say hunters sleep with one eye open, but enforcers sleep with two, and you don't get as far as Harry without paying full attention. There's no use hating him. Not now. I've seen what I need to in order to make my choice. And yet, it still hurts, and a strategic part of me loathes the fact that I lied. That I'd gone with him down there, witnessed the true horror of his crimes. Though I have some explaining to do, I know it will be worth it. Especially now as I think about Aya and Piper and August. An enforcer passes me, sparing me a glance before they quickly avert their gaze, their heads down. They scurry away from me quickly, and I almost smile, fascinated at how fast gossip apparently travels in our dear agency. With a heavy sigh, I decide that the best thing to do will be to sleep off this evening and to face the wrath of my friends in the morning. Oh yeah, the in-store creaks as I push it in, but the obnoxious sound isn't enough for me to miss the familiar aura I could sense beyond it. My stomach clenches uncomfortably, of all the times for Omen to show up. I see him sitting at an empty table near the center of the room, hands clasped together, and the faint wisp of fire trailing from the strand of his hair. All around us is an empty cabin. Omen looks up, and the immediate smile he gives me, bright with relief, is like a guilt-shaped punch to my stomach. Were you waiting for me? Carefully, I closed the door behind me and moved to sit next to Omen, and he nods. A glance at the window reveals no skulking spy, and I certainly don't sense anyone, but I'd be a fool to think Harry would not keep an eye on me somehow. The entire conversation still makes me feel sick on the inside, to even pretend at all, but I must. This is the best way to get anywhere with this situation, and there's no reason to assume Omen knows. I guess Willenheim told me. There we go. Or my enforcer can go and babble to the teeming prince I've been enjoying the company of. That's fine too. Yep, that's very kind of them. I thought they were rather averse to creatures of all kinds. Um, the wry smile on Omen's face makes my cheeks burn, but also feel lighter, especially when he takes my hands and laces our fingers together. Yes, I owe them an apology. Is August here? Omen shakes his head. He rolls slow, soothing, distracting circles on the back of my hand with one thumb. His eyes downcast, as he seems to be deep in thought. I don't mind the lack of elaboration. The sheer burdening weight of Omen's presence, now that I'm more used to it, is more of a comfort than it is suffocating. I rest my hand on his wrist gently, and let Omen stew in his thoughts while I simply enjoy his company. His eyes flicker to my face, and he reaches up to cup my cheek. I lean into the touch. How are you doing? Omen asks it cleanly and with naked concern in his eyes. I blink and shake my head, then forcefully extract myself from the peaceful emptiness I'd almost managed to slip into. My mouth feels dry. At once, the fear and the fury and the bitterness come rushing back. He thinks it's all right. Thinks he's done only the right, correct thing to protect the people in this town. My hand curls into a fist on the table surface, my nails scratching the wood. I notice Omen glance at it, but he stays still and only inclines his head gravely. I would have fought for this peace, not just to protect humans, but for the peace between us and the creatures we share this world with. But we don't need to be made into monsters to be strong enough for it. I remember his placid response, the aura of madness about him. It hurts because it's a confirmation of something I've always held in the back of my mind. What hunter doesn't? Aurora was right. We trample and destroy everything, don't we? Omen takes the hand I have curled on the table and firmly pries my fist loose so that he can hold on to it. His touch is warm, the heat unnatural, and in the slightly dim lighting of the empty tavern, his form seems to fray at the edges, his hair trailing slight ascent to fire. The brimstone lilies on my belt are another source of warmth, glowing in response to Omen's presence. I take it you won't intervene? Omen shakes his head, his eyebrows knitting in regret. He cuts himself off short and sighs harshly, shaking his head again. I disentangle one of my hands to reach up and tuck a strand of his hair behind a pointed ear. Omen blinks and then his eyes soften. I understand. This is all a rather human mess anyhow, and I'm not quite ready to make a pact with a demon prince yet. Really? I thought Hell might like extremists. I just want to bring Addington to justice. Omen looks at me and then tilts his head. My blood runs hot and cold with his words. This would make you stronger. It would just be like an extra weapon. Perhaps a serum or a pellet of some type at first, to be consumed when necessary. I remember when I was still a trainee, taken to a location I have no memory of. My recruitment not even entirely my choice, because what 12-year-old was ready to make a life commitment with all the wisdom and facts attached? I remember how absolutely blind we were kept, made ignorant of the world outside on purpose, save for letters from relatives carefully vetted by the enforcers. If they took us to a pit one day and told us to die, would we not have jumped? Perhaps we would have. Their word was the only word of guidance and authority we had in those 6 years. How long have you been watching Hunters? Omen inclines his head, but he's not grasping his breath, denying anything. Centuries, then. Maybe. You know I count those things with fingers. Human fingers. He wiggles them at me to make a point, and I start. I'm not entirely inclined to feel any mirth right now. Something will have to change. Yes. I look down at our joined hands, my head now positively aching at the burgeoning amount of new thoughts and new fears I've suddenly acquired. Will you stay the night? Of course. We get to our feet and I tangle our hands together again, pulling him towards the stairs. There's much to do, so much. So much. But all of that we'll do tomorrow. Tonight, I think I've earned myself rest. Okay. Phew. Okay, that is it for today. Wow, that was a lot. It's been a while since I've done that choice. I usually just condemn him, but I don't why. Okay, so next, I will be streaming again on Wednesday, finishing up what's available of Errant Kingdom, which will be the Nomad Route Chapter 5, where we're romancing Lydia. And then next week we will finish up the main story for When the Night Comes. We'll be doing chapters 9 and 10 together, because 10 is more an epilogue or anything else at this point. I'm tired. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I think when I did the Piper playthrough, I picked the other option. I condemned Harry, but I didn't say anything. I think I did pick the live one when I played when I romanced August initially, but they were so heartbreaking. It's like, I can't do this. Okay. So I will see you all next time. Take care, have a great day, all that fun stuff. And I will be back later. Bye.